From shadows deep, a whisper starts to bloom, a tiny spark defying all the gloom. They said we were too small, too weak to rise, ignored the fire burning in our eyes. But every route we set, a promise made, a silent strength that never will evade.
Deep down inside, we journeys long but bit unfold across the field. Forever standing tall, banish every fear. We will rise till the phoenix will rise. I don't try echoes, reaching for the sky. Unstoppable aura, eternally we fly.
Brian is innocent. Brian has been essentially convicted in the media. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent. So if I talk about things that are in the affidavit, and if I talk about things that we're seeking that the state wants to hide, I think that's fair game for the public to hear.
Whoop whoop! Monday. Can y'all hear me? Audio check, audio check. Can everyone hear me? Sometimes things just don't work the way they're supposed to, but I'm so glad that just worked. I'll tell you, 1 o'clock. I don't know if I like this time. I like my other time better, but unfortunately, I had to run some errands. You guys know how that goes, right? So I'm going to welcome everyone in, and I hope you had a fabulous Mother Day, whether you are a mother to little humans or grown humans or fur babies. I hope that your day was very restful, peaceful, enjoyable. And it's good to see everyone back here. Donna, Rosa, welcome in. Hello, hello, Angelica and Artsy Gal, Rebecca. Good to see everybody. Happy Monday, Truth Seeker. You guys are absolutely fabulous. Les, good to see you. I hope everything's going fantastic. Terry, welcome in. Yep. No talkie before coffee. I hear you. It was such a blessing. Becca, good morning, afternoon. I'm used to my regular time. Hello, everyone. Finland is ready. I love it. Court, welcome in. I see ya. I see everyone, and welcome in. And make sure you know the drill. If you are trolling to scroll, you know our motto here. We're going to catch you one way or another.
Shoot away the trolls, shoot, shoot, shoot. No room for grumbles, only centrifuge. Gonna flick them away like glitter in the air. Positive vibes, no time for the despair. Yeah, just
Woo! All right. I don't get to play that very often, but you guys have been well behaved in here. Hello, Green. How are you? Good to see ya. I am so excited to see you guys here. Hear you loud and clear, Ink Mama. Karen, welcome back. Haven't seen you for a while. Good afternoon. All right. So, who is ready to kick this off? You know, I just have to say, we are represented almost everywhere. We are looking at 1, 2. So, we've got New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, Illinois, Mississippi, Vermont, and Maine. So those are the only states left that we need. So if you have anybody, tag someone if they're interested in a really great community to be in. And I'm not going to say this is just true crime. I'm just saying in general. Welcome in every single look at that. Truth Seeker, you are so beautiful. Yes, this is Monday, which is Mod Monday, and this goes directly 100% to our mods. So what a way to start the month off, right? I'm telling you, you guys are absolutely fabulous. So let me make sure that I put that on the Mod Mondays. That is a blessing. Thank you, Truth Seeker. And, you know, one reason that we come together and this community comes together, and that is to find the truth. And boy, I have got a lot of truth for you guys today. I hope you are ready because I'm bringing it. We've got it. If you want it, you know where to get it, right? So let me just say this has been a restful, nice weekend. So do me a favor, swipe up or down, whichever one it is for you, across, sideways, upside down. Hit the thumbs up. Let's get into this live because this is going to blow you away. And I bring receipts, guys. You know that I love to talk about this. I did a new video. I threw it up this morning in the YouTube channel. I threw it up. That sounds bad. I posted it to the YouTube channel. And if anybody had a chance to watch it, I highly recommend that we do. And I'm going to start the stream off like this because I think it's really important. The topic that I'm going to cover, if you haven't read the book, we're doing our second review tomorrow, chapters 6 through 10. You don't want to miss that. I did the mysterious DNA on the hair last week, but I have got to share this with you because there were some mysterious men in Kaylee's life, guys. Whether you know it or not, she had some mysterious men. And, I don't want to give too much away yet, But there's two delts involved. Okay, two delts. Do we know that they are, obviously everybody here is innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, but just so you know, there were two delts that were dating Kaylee perhaps at the same time, alleged, per a witness in this book. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to play that video real quick for you. And you're going to get an idea of behind the scenes in the IDAHO4, what we didn't know that we probably should have known. Tonight we're stepping into one of those rabbit holes that make people stop mid-scroll and go, wait, what?
Judge could hear one thought from you that he should remember. What is it?
He's going to own this. He's going to inherit what Thompson did, and he's the only one who can fix it. He's the only one who can make it right. He needs to protect the others. He did it solely on his own, and nobody else was responsible. And then we won't keep having this. These supporters always saying that he got set up. We know what he's planning on doing. Somebody died, a vet died, and he's going to try to say that, put the blame on that person.
Wait, what? Were you talking allegedly about Brent Lee Kopaka?
What he's planning on doing. Somebody died, a vet died, and he's going to.
Because according to an excerpt from Broken Plea, investigators reportedly explored the possibility that Kaylee may have invited someone home from the bar that night before the murders. Hold on. Before the internet launches into orbit, before someone prints 20 conspiracy posters, this is not the same thing as saying, did she invite someone home? But what does this tell us is that early investigators may have been looking into a lot more directions than the public realized. Tonight, I'm going to break this down Phoenix style, logical, calm, open-minded, with a giant flashlight aimed directly at the timeline. Because one thing I always say on this channel is the truth usually hides in the details people skip over. Educational purposes and fair discussion. This stream is commentary and analysis based on publicly discussed material that excerpts from Broken Plea. We are not accusing any random people. We are not naming any innocent people as suspects. We're discussing investigative logic, early leads, and how homicide investigators evolve. Big difference. Now, nesters, grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your conspiracy corkboard. So the excerpt basically says investigators tracked Maddie Mogan and Kaylee's movements, interviewed people at the corner club, looked into Hoodie Guy and possibly a stalker, and interviewed a man Kaylee might have invited home from a bar. Now that wording matters. Might have, not she did, not confirmed companion, not witness entering the house, just might have. And Phoenix logic says when investigators use certain language, that really means a tip, a rumor, a possible sighting, a conflict witness information. Now let's think about this logically. Imagine you're an investigator and you arrive at a college party house, 4 victims, late night activity, bars, food trucks, dozens of social interactions, overlapping friend groups, and digital evidence still being processed. Not only investigate, would you only investigate one theory immediately? Absolutely not. You investigate ex-boyfriends, arguments, stalkers, party interactions, rejected advances, random sightings, suspicious injuries, weird behavior, strange vehicles, everything. But in the first 48 hours, because in the first 48 hours, people often know less than the public thinks they do. It's the bar theory. Now, here's where things get interesting. This wasn't just some quiet suburban evening. It was a college town nightlife environment. People forget that. At bars, people mingle, conversations happen, strangers approach groups, somebody buys drinks, people flirt, people leave together, people misunderstand interactions. So if investigators heard, hey, maybe she invited someone back, they had to investigate it, because if they ignored it, people would later scream, why didn't police check that? That's how homicide work goes. Sedan Park. Now, the excerpt also mentions a man leaving town abruptly with an untreated hand injury, driving a white sedan similar to ring footage. Now, does that mean guilt? No. But does that sound like something investigators would look into? Absolutely. Phoenix logic. If you're investigating a brutal homicide and someone suddenly leaves town, as in an injury, and drives a similar car, detectives are going to say, hey, buddy, mind answering a few questions? That's standard procedure. But here's the most important part of this excerpt. It says these people were identified and eliminated. And honestly, that might be the biggest takeaway, because this tells us investigators were likely eliminating lead after lead after lead before settling on their main theory. That means the investigation was probably much messier earlier on than the polished public narrative later suggested. Do you think the public saw a small fraction of the early investigation chaos? Yes or no? Here's the bigger issue. Now, here's where people want to think critically. A lot of innocent people in this case got dragged online. We're talking hoodie guy, ex-boyfriends, classmates, random students, people with white cars, people with cuts on their hands. And this excerpt reminds us being investigated does not equal guilt. If police interview you in a quadruple homicide investigation, that doesn't automatically make you suspicious. It means detectives are doing their job. We could only hope. What this excerpt really reveals is how wide the investigation net may have been. And that matters because the public often thinks investigators move in a straight line. But honestly, it's like spaghetti. Panic, dead ends, conflicting statements, evolving, and constant elimination. Especially in a high profile case, we have social media pressure, national media attention, and thousands of tips flooding in. Excerpt doesn't prove Kaylee brought someone home, but it does show investigators explored many possibilities early on. And honestly, that's what good investigators are supposed to do. You check every rumor, every lead, every car, every interaction, every timeline inconsistency. But sometimes the truth hides in something small. And sometimes the biggest clue is to. Now I'm going to get into the Brent Kopaka question mark, because I always go back to Maddie's room. Because nesters see what others miss. You know the drill. Be well. In the light bulb. Who was this man? You know the drill. Be well.
We know what he's planning on doing. Somebody died, a vet died.
All right, nesters. Tonight we're stepping. All right, nesters. What did you think about that video? Do you think it's as cut and dry as we have been led to believe? Do you think that Brent Lee Kopaka had something to do with this case? Was this the guy that allegedly Bill Thompson was going to pin this on, and they couldn't do it because he was a veteran? Is that a possibility? Remember, Phoenix is looking at the facts. Phoenix with the facts. Now, I'm not stating I'm an expert in the Idaho 4 case, but I'm not stating I'm not. But I will say we're here for it all. The Idaho 4 case, every question, every contradiction, every missing piece, every little nook and cranny. And Green, I believe so too, because you have to remember, wherever you are in the Idaho case, wherever you just started learning about it, or you've never heard of it, or you've been following it for all these years, here's the issue. This is, in my humble opinion, an unsolved crime. Yes, folks, an unsolved crime. We have plenty of DNA, possibly from the perpetrators. We have plenty of information pointing not to Brian Kohberger. And there is plenty of information that the two police departments, Moscow Police Departments that is contracted at the University of Idaho, pulled everyone's vehicle that could have been in a Elantra for certain years. And then Pullman did the same. And we know that they had a list, yes, folks, a list of individuals with the Pullman Police Department at WSU on 12/28. Remember, Officer Payne, the lead detective in this case, testified he was given the name of Kohberger as a tip. They never said it was Brian Kohberger's DNA. That's what he said in the court transcripts. He gave his testimony on the stand. Now, when you look back at these possible patsies, were they in fact going to go to Brent Kopaka's apartment? And were they going to try to pin this on him? I believe so, humbly. Rest in peace, Brent Kopaka. And hopefully, they were only targeting you as a patsy. Because I believe in my heart, I have found the exact time that sadly Ethan was unalived, all because of a timeline, all because of one simple little detail someone lied about. That now we have enough information to go through evidence, photos, video camera. We have enough information to go through all of these resources and determine what happened at 1122 King Road. It had nothing to do about the two guys that Kaylee must have been dating. Absolutely nothing to do with them, in my humble opinion. But we all have suspected for a very long time who could have possibly been involved in this. So tonight we're here for all of it, not just the headlines, not just for the media version, not just the safe little package narrative tied up with a bow. No, we're here for the timelines. We're here for the contradictions. We're here for the unanswered questions. We're here for the missing evidence. That's weird details no one can stop talking about. The stuff that make people pause and go, wait a minute. Well, if that's you, welcome home, everyone. Sincerely, I'm your host, Phoenix Talks. Welcome home. We're going to get into one little tiny contradiction. I was going to save it for tomorrow, but you know me. When I find something, I have to share it. I have to share it. There's a lot of wild speculation about Ethan's Ford Explorer in the parking lot of 1122 King Road. When did it get there? Well, I heard early on. Yes, I heard a lot of rumors too. I heard early on that they were going to park the vehicle because they were going to go walk over to the parties that were right across the street, across the band field, and they were going to party it up that night, so they didn't need to drive. because Ethan's Ford and his Jeep did not, I repeat, allegedly did not have university parking permits. So he parked them over at Xana's house. That's a key detail a lot of people miss out on. Could you imagine how many parking tickets someone could get in, let's say, a semester if they didn't have a parking permit? I mean, I just can't believe today even high schools have parking permits for students that drive to school, their junior or senior year. I mean, think about how many tickets Brian Kohberger was given. Just some food for thought there. But whether you believe the case is solved or whether you think there's still giant holes, one thing is true. Kohberger is still in the headlines, and we're here for it all. Did anyone see News Nation interview with Chris Whitcomb? Drop a 1. And if you caught it, it was pretty interesting. So Christopher Whitcomb was on Angelina Levitt. Is that what her name is? No, not hold on a minute. Let me grab it. Hold on one second. I put it on pause. Let me just say, hold on a minute. Trying to find it for you. I saw just a clip it the other day of him on it. And I thought to myself, wow, why is he doing that circuit? News Nation. It wasn't with Ashley Banfield because she's no longer there. I saw a clip. Hold on a minute. Wow, nobody saw it. Okay, hold on one second. They are now making the rounds about Christopher Whitcomb and the new sheath chain of custody. It wasn't too long ago. Let me see if I saved it. I kind of scrolled right through it. See if I can find it. Dang it. See what you get when you have a live stream and it's not scripted. News Nation. Let me do Kohberger. Maybe it'll pull it up that way. Angela Levy. I thought it was. Oh, here it is. No, it's her name is, what is her name? This isn't Angela. This is someone else, but let me share this with you. Let's watch it.
That chain of custody issue around that knife sheath was a problem, and it could have led to that being thrown out of court. Joining us now is former FBI agent Christopher Whitcomb, author of Broken Plea, The Explosive Search for Truth Behind the Idaho Murders. Christopher, great to have you on the show. So what was the chain of custody issue around this knife sheath? Because this was probably the most damning piece of evidence.
It was a very damning piece of evidence. It was a three-part prosecution. The white car, everyone, prosecutor Bill Thompson, the cell tower information tying Brian Kohberger's phone to the time before and after the crimes, and the DNA found on the knife sheath. And I think you brought up something very interesting at the beginning, Elizabeth, in that this did not go to trial, so people really have no idea what the evidence would have shown. Mm-hmm. Because of the way the plea deal came out of nowhere, was announced very suddenly, no one will ever know that information. All we know is what Bill Thompson said at the change of plea hearing when he recited the evidence against Brian Kohberger.
But so why would the knife sheath, you think, maybe been thrown out?
Well, this is one issue in a 430-page book. It's a very broad thing, but the bottom line is, because the knife sheath everyone thinks was found in the bed, the report filed by the Idaho State Police says it was found on the floor. There were various issues that were presented by the defense as to what that knife sheath actually showed about the crime scene and how it got there. And then once it was seized by the Idaho State Police, the chain of custody ensures that what is taken from the crime scene and what ends up being processed for DNA is contiguous, it is uncorrupted, and that it is verifiable in the court of law. What this book shows is some of the information in the police file. I make no theories. I offer no conjecture. I present the evidence, and it's very, very surprising. People have no idea what they don't know. This does not come up with.
You talked about the two other pillars, the white car that he drove that was seen in the area, the cell tower, which showed his cell phone was out and about the crime scene area at 4 a.m. when the crimes were taking place, not a time when a lot of people are out and about. Would he have been convicted even if the knife sheath had been thrown out?
Well, obviously, we'll never know because he took the plea. And I stipulate unequivocally, Brian Kohberger pled guilty. He was a grown man of sound mind. He was working on a PhD in criminology. I don't dispute that. What I say is that many people make deals. In this case, it was a death penalty on the line should he have been convicted. People do what's in their own best interest. I don't dispute any of that. What I say, looking at the evidence that the reader of this book and the people that are watching this right now have never seen. This is never. So before they make judgments, I think it's important to look at all of this and see many things. Like I say, the knife sheath is very important, but it's one issue in a 430-page book.
Yeah, and you've also write in this book about the blood evidence, about it being possibly diluted and not found in places that would have made sense. You're taking
and that comes from the prosecution. The prosecution hired an expert who came in, wrote a report just prior to trial, and these things come from the prosecution, not from the defense.
Interesting. Yeah, we never got to see the case against Brian Kohberger. You are starting to unveil it in this book. Christopher Whitcomb, thank you so much. Your book, Broken Plea, is scheduled for release tomorrow.
Okay, so that was from the 427 interview with him on News Nation. That was Elizabeth. So here's the deal. He talks about, going through these comments on the TikTok. If you're not on there, it's wild. In the video that I just showed you in regards to Kaylee possibly inviting someone home from the bar, could that have been a possibility? Absolutely. And investigators looked everywhere. But I thought it was really odd. This excerpt from Broken Plea, showed here on the screen right here, is that they tracked all the movements, every movement, even the movements we didn't see. And there is a lot of movements going on in this case. And even if Kaylee did invite someone back to the house, even if she did, it always made me think, well, who is the guy on the floor, right? I mean, who's the guy on the floor? Is that Brent Kopaka possibly on the floor in Maddie's room? Was he the first victim that was removed and taken to the hospital? You remember the picture that I showed you before? The one in Maddie's light bulb? Does that ring a bell? Because I'll tell you, to this day, no one has ever addressed this picture. This is not some cleanup CSI person. This is someone that is laying directly on the floor. And what's odd to me is that if this was Kopaka, and if this was him laying on the floor, did he go to the hospital and recover? And is that why his room was cleaned out when they came and swatted him? Were they coming to get him? Was he just a visitor and a victim? I don't think the world will ever really know. Is that what Chris Whitcomb had to take out of the book? Is that what Chris could not share with the rest of the world? This is all my opinion. This is all from the facts in the evidence and the pictures that were released and given. It's like an Indian giver or somebody who gives a child a present for Christmas and then they say the next day, no, I want that back. ISP released these photos and immediately deleted them from the internet forever, except for those who were able to grab them fast enough. And thankfully, I was. I'm sure they didn't count on me looking into this a little bit more. But mind you, I'm just a mom. I'm just a grandma. I'm just nobody. But I often wondered who was the first victim that made it to the hospital. That is not an investigative photographer wearing white clothing similar to the person reflected in the light bulb. I have gone over this. If you want to go back and look at other pictures, this is like a light bulb is like a closed camera CCTV in a department store. You will see directly what's on the floor. I've explained the shape. I've explained the science behind a light bulb. I have gone over and over. Crime scene photographers and investigative purposes will wear hats, covers. They look like they're in PPE gear. This is not a photographer. This looks like someone, and I'm just going to say it, they look alive. They look alive, and they are in a pressure suit. They are not bound. They are not gagged. Maybe they were put in a tight-fitting suit if they were bleeding for pressure. If that is all speculation. Or if they thought maybe that this person would have been combative, they would have put them in some type of pressured jacket. Now, I don't think we'll ever know if she really did invite someone from the bar. Does anybody know for sure who the individual at the bar, at the corner club, was sitting there talking with Kaylee and Maddie that night? Does anybody really know? Has anybody ever confirmed who the individual was sitting with Maddie and Kaylee at the corner club in this picture? Has anybody been able to confirm it? Yeah, it kind of looks like a pressure jacket. Anybody with, wounds that can open and seep, and we've got some nurses in here, it looked to me like a pressure jacket. Shape and color. Do we know if that was JD? I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, depending on the time that this photo was taken, we can rule it out if JD was there or not. Because according to JD's statements, and remember, JD was never charged, never implicated in this crime, although he was the number one suspect. Never charged, never implicated, did have an attorney. And Jack basically said that him, Nathan Royce, and Jack Granger got back to the apartment a little after 1 a.m. So whoever Maddie and Kaylee were seen on the video at the corner club footage that was released, I believe, by Olivia originally, and I'll bring that up, corner club video. This is very interesting. So you do know, I don't know how many exes, well, alleged, basically, he was at the bar with a bunch of his buddies and she was at the bar with a bunch of his buddies. So this video that we're watching here, I'm going to mute it real quick because it's annoying. I'm going to mute this. I'm going to share this video with you. And we're going to look at this real quick. This video says at 1:15:52. Now, I don't know if this time is right on here, but allegedly, Jack isn't even in the bar at this time. Remember, we can always go back and look at the 1112 camera, and you can actually see this video. Obviously, I always go to Jules because she got the FOIA'd copy of it. So obviously, I believe that's probably the accurate, true copy. So this video of the corner club may not even be, folks, when JD is there. So whoever Kaylee was trying to pull away and they got in some type of altercation, it might have been someone else. May have been someone else. So remember, at 1 o'clock, the investigators go and they verify if JD, in fact, came home at that time. And the only reason that I say that it can be verified, is Jules' video. Remember the one that they muted out? You can go right back at 1 o'clock and you can see that someone gets dropped off at 1127, and around this time frame 3 guys walk into the house. That is actually, according to the book Broken Plea, that is Jack DeCour, his buddy Nathan Royce, and Jack Granger. These are the guys that are getting ready to pull out of this car that's going to pull up at approximately 1 o'clock. There comes a vehicle. Let's just wait for it to show up. And it's going to pull in, and 3 people are going to get out of the car. Yes, don't forget, it's Mod Mondays. Any donation given to the channel will go directly to our beautiful mods. This is 1 o'clock. They get out of the car, and 3 guys walk into 1127 King Road. 1, 2, 3. But where did they go? They went into the 1127, right? Let me play that back in a little slower speed. Let's see what happens. Now, either this time is accurate or we got a bogus time on this video that was released to Jules. And if this is a bogus time, I really feel that Moscow Police Department should give Jules back the money that they spent on this, because this isn't what she asked for if this time is manipulated. There was only one person that gets out of that vehicle on slow speed and then leaves. Just one. Don't know where they went. But remember, around the same time, there is somebody out here walking around 1118, the house to the left, and scopes out the house to see if anyone's home. So that couldn't have been Jack DeCour and his 3 buddies. So let's see if there's another car that comes in and drops these folks off. There's the flashing, flash, flash, flash. This guy comes walking up behind 118. That is at 103. And see, I believe, in my humble opinion, that Ethan has already been attacked. And this guy is looking around to see if anyone is home at 1122. That's what I believe. And I'll show you why. Oh my goodness, Brianne Lilly, really? Wow. It was said that the lady was out of town and Moscow Police Department had to contact her for the videos. They got the videos and manipulated them. Wow. I did not know that, if that's true. Now this guy, a Jeep pulls up. They have some type of conversation. And here's the weird thing. Then this truck pulls up. Is that the truck? No, that's a different time, isn't it? That's the three guys that Peyton Rossi drops off, the Sobro. Bam. 1, 2, 3 guys. This video is about 5 minutes and 9 seconds off. 5 minutes and 9 seconds is a huge deal. Okay? So we do know for a fact at 1 o'clock, it said that Chestnut goes to sleep alone in his room. And also at 1 o'clock, Cole Berenberger walks home from the corner club because he got kicked out, folks. But at 1 o'clock, this is JD and his friends, and I don't know why it wasn't added on the timeline in the book, is dropped off from club by Peyton Rossi and his two friends. Okay? So 5 minutes and 9 seconds off. So are you going to take her word for it? It was said that Bethany, Xana and Bethany was at Sigma Chi. Ethan left because he didn't feel well. Xana caught up with him later. No, that's not what happened according to the timeline and the evidence that I have. So let me give you that, okay? Emails between the FBI when sending for the vehicle identification complained about the quality of response from the other agent. He did something too. I'll send you the raw footage. Oh, wow. Wow, the emails between the FBI for vehicle identification. Wow, that's crazy. And you know what? Let me throw this in here for you guys. If you guys don't know, let me see if I have a list. Hold on. Let me see. Boise. Okay, so do they have one? Drop a 1 if you guys know what a flock camera is. Drop a 1 if you guys know what a flock camera is. I'm about to show you something. I'm about to show you what a flock camera is. I wish I could remember the document numbers, but my memory isn't what it used to be. Oh, the FBI about the vehicle iteration. Okay. If you know what a flock camera is, you're going to want to know this. A lot of residential areas have been given grants for flock cameras, and flock cameras are being they're being recommended for safety. They're being recommended for safety. But let me show you actually what a flock camera is. You're going to want to know this.
In North Carolina load their infant and a bunch of merchandise in a Lowe's parking lot. And I suppose one could cross-reference their license plate with the Park Mobile data breach and find out exactly where the garage is that will store these new fancy tools. I watched a man leave his house in the morning in New York. I watched a woman jogging alone on a forest trail in Georgia. This trail had multiple cameras, and I could watch a man rollerblade and then take a break to watch rollerblading videos on his phone. How? Because the camera's AI automatically zoomed in on it. Just like it zoomed in on a couple arguing at a street market in Atlanta. So what? They're still anonymous, right? No, they're not. Within 2 minutes of open source intelligence using a commercial facial recognition engine, I found out that one of them just finished medical school and the other is dealing with chronic irritable bowel syndrome. The couple also just had a baby last year and they have a pretty concerning debt to income ratio. I also know that they drove over 45 minutes from their address in the suburbs to attend. I saw a family in North Carolina load their infant and a bunch of merchandise.
And it goes on and on and on. It is absolutely wild. I mean, you can go and learn more about flock cameras all over
I'm not
the
sure that
place.
I've ever been as angry as I was Friday when I found this out. This is a failure of all levels. We are calling for immediate shutdown of software and the system, all the readers.
Why are we just now finding out? This was discovered in October and November. We received information in the end of April. Where's the gap?
There's major disappointment and distrust in this community now. I thought we had some good processes in place, and we were assured that everyone was on the same page and that this would move forward in the way that it was intended to do so. Clearly, that did not happen.
I too agree with the public. The cameras need to be removed. We need to remove those cameras.
I call upon our city manager and chief to re-examine all of our data sharing policies and the processes that ensure compliance with commission direction and policy to make absolutely sure this breakdown is not repeated.
So continue to hold us accountable. We got much work we need to do, and we're going to hold the city manager and all of the staff accountable as well.
And there's more.
Just resigned after using flock cameras to stalk a woman he was dating. He ran her plate 179 times in 2 months. According to the Institute for Justice, this is happening all over the country. They've documented at least 14 cases of officers using license plate readers to stalk romantic partners, exes, and in one case, a complete stranger, a Florida deputy spotted on a TV set and decided to pull over. A Kansas police chief ran his ex-girlfriend's plate over 200 times. A Kentucky officer tracked an ex hundreds of times in 2 months. Every single one of these searches was logged as an investigation. The Milwaukee cop only got caught because his victims looked themselves up on a public website called Have I Been Flocked? A Milwaukee cop just resigned.
One more.
Allows you to legally evade America's surveillance system. Because my first attempt to not be recorded by the millions of cameras that track you everywhere you go didn't really go as planned.
You kind of look like clannish doing shit like that.
Clannish? So I invented something new to outsmart the cameras watching us and not be racist at the same time. It's essentially a giant backpack with a camera on one side that live streams to the TV mounted on my back, therefore obscuring my body and face. It works pretty well on dogs. So I figured it'd work on surveillance cameras too. They're basically the same thing. But a lot of people have asked me how much this anti-surveillance device costs. So I thought I'd break it down for you. I used a GoPro and a chest mount and cords, which were like $400. The TV was just, I just stole it from my family, but I think it was like $250 a few years ago. My dad's North Face backpack from 1970, I thought would be priceless, but apparently you can get one online for only $110. Then there's this huge battery to power everything that hangs below. And unfortunately that part is that it's super heavy, but I think it was like $1,500. But if you want to do this the right way, you'd equip another TV on the front side and another camera on the back so you can be truly invisible from all sides. So all in all, it's only going to cost about $3,000 for this anti-surveillance device. Would you buy one? This is the only device that allows...
It's super heavy, by the way. Okay. I mean, incredibly heavy. And so I just want you to know what a flock camera is. And here is, they took it out, Palantir and Flock. Guess who they partnered with?
Knock the flock camera down. Someone knocked the...
So when you start looking at what are these cameras and what is the surveillance, oh my gosh, you guys, this is something intensely wild. So when I say flock cameras, yes, there possibly can be some good, right? But there also can be some bad. Now, if you really look at this, there was a mysterious sedan that was similar to the white sedan that looked very much like the one on the Ring camera. They surveillanced a student from Boise who left campus Sunday morning with an unexplained gash on his hand that he didn't have treated. Well, who was that in the IDAHO4? Anybody? Anybody know who that was? Was that Chicken Guy? Did Chicken Guy leave Sunday morning after he went to the, I don't know if this is the same Chicken Guy that we've read. I mean, think about this. This gets absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Now, a lot of people have been talking about these cameras, and a lot of people have been talking about the truck. But I'm going to show you that there's one little lie that will change the Idaho 4 narrative completely. Are you guys ready for this? Drop a 1. Because I just showed you and I proved when JD and his friends got home according to the timeline. Okay, remember, JD has never been charged with anything, even though he was the POI and then a suspect. Never charged. Ever charged. Are you guys ready for this one? In the book, in the timeline, between 1:15 and 1:30, it says, oh, I'm not sharing that screen. Let me grab it real quick. Let me grab it. It says that Dylan called a Sobro for her and Lakeland because Lakeland was very intoxicated, friends. They had to go back to 1122 King and watch Vampire Diaries. So, Sobros drive, correct? I don't know if that was Austin, but definitely. I thought chicken guy. Let's not forget the G family were the first to clear JD. Absolutely. And they also said that there were some people that were cleared way too fast. So do me a favor, if you enjoy the content, just give me a thumbs up. Doesn't cost any money. So here we see JD and 2 of his friends get dropped off. Peyton Rossi said that in his statement too, that he dropped him off, backed up, and then he left. That's his car. That's who drove him. All right. That checked out. Now, I'm going to play this. I don't want to play this too fast, but I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. You're going to see a lot of activity. And remember, this is the actual footage that was released by the Moscow Police Department. It had no sound. It's all muted. There goes somebody. We know right now, per the timeline, that no one is home at 1122. We just saw this guy walk around 1118 on the left of the screen, blue house, waiting to see and look around if anyone, in my humble opinion, was home. Now keep in mind, I have this on a little fast speed. There was nowhere that I had seen any car come in to drop Dylan or Lakeland off. And it was said at the same time at 1 o'clock that Bethany was walking home from Allie's on Taylor. Now, I showed you that video the other day. That they were calling out Allie. It was Allie from Allie's house on Taylor Avenue, where I believe some fight had taken place. Did it involve Ethan? I'm not sure. But there was some fight. This is the same time that Kaylee now is at the bar engaging in conversation with Jack Showalter. So JD leaves, he comes home. He's not there at the bar. Someone else is at the bar. And JD has also left a friend of his at the bar, which he's a ghost. If anyone can find him, you win the internet. So we're waiting to see if any car between 1:15 and 1:30, I'm going to pull this a little further ahead, but you're going to see a lot of activity start happening about right here. 1:10, right over to JD's house. Car comes in, leaves real quick. Still don't see anybody coming as a Sobro for Dylan and Lake. And it didn't even say where Dylan and Lakeland were, that they needed a ride. Okay, remember, we don't do rumors, we do facts, evidence, and proof. So all of these that you're seeing are pretty much rumors, Bren. We don't do that here, honey. Yep, I believe that. And remember, we were never told what the blood was at JD's apartment, the hallway. Nothing. We were never told the outcome of that. And it has never, ever been shared what it was. Never has been tied to any of the crimes. Here comes a car. That's the truck that pulls up. People go inside. And remember, Jack DeCour was interviewed, what, 4 times? Three or four times. And at the second one, he says, no, I need an attorney. So this truck pulls in. I still don't see any car coming in to drop off Dylan or Lakeland. And Jack was actually missing more classes than normal because of the breakup with Kaylee. Very cooperative, gave his DNA, did everything to appease them. Still don't see any car come in with Dylan or Lakeland. Yeah, JD was interviewed on 3 or 4 occasions. I think the second or the third one he brought an attorney in. Still don't see a car. And we are at the, what mark are we at right now? 116. It says 115 to 130. Dylan calls a Sobro. Well, who was the Sobro? Sorry, guys. I'd play the troll song, but I don't care how many times I say it. I could say it 12 times and people will still be spamming the chat. If you're spamming, you're trolling. All right. He was very cooperative. Was his DNA tested against any DNA found? We don't know. We never got that. So if it wasn't JD, then who was it in 1127 that could have possibly had, I don't know, blood drips in the kitchen and the hallway? Where did the naked guy run to? Who was the naked guy? Wasn't the Sobro D. Barry? I have no idea. It just says that Dylan calls a Sobro, and there's no proof of her phone records. It just says interview. Sobro was called for a ride for her and Lakeland because Lakeland is very intoxicated. They go back to 112 King and watch Vampire Diaries. Did anybody look into who the Sobro was? Because I still don't see a car coming to drop Dylan and Lakeland off. Still don't see a car. Nothing. Nada. Nope. And Bethany allegedly is walking home from Allie's by herself. The time was confirmed by Jenna McClure. When she gets there, only Dylan and Lakeland are home at the house. So whatever's happening to Ethan, just, I would say probably 30 minutes prior, whatever's happening to Ethan, do you think he's back? Nope. Somebody walks over here, running over to this 1119, go inside the house. Something sketchy is going on over there. I don't know if they're playing light tag or sending messages back and forth to this house right here, 1112. But if you look at the car, in the middle of this car, you can see lights. You can see the reflection. What is up with that? I don't know if 119 was ever investigated. Here comes a car. I thought, okay, maybe Dylan was telling the truth. Who is this? Somebody that pulls in. That's the car that parks there at the 1118, and the person walks inside. I don't know. Remember, the only way you can drop somebody off at 1122 is to come down this road. Well, you still don't see anybody's car pull up to drop Dylan and Lakeland off. If he was a sobro for Dylan and Lakeland, well, that looks like Hunter Johnson to me. Alleged. If Barry was a sobro, where's his car? It should be on video. Unless, of course, this video is off more than 5 minutes and 9 seconds. Right after this, a lot of activity starts happening. Watch what happens. Still don't see Dylan or Lakeland being dropped off by a sobro. This is when things start getting really interesting around here. People driving, turning around, U-turns, lights, camera, action. So while we're watching this at 1:26, it says Lakeland leaves the house. Well, we've never seen Lakeland arrive. How did Lakeland arrive? If they were so drunk and needed a sobro, the sobro still hasn't dropped them off. Yeah. How in the world did they get there? Either they didn't, or there was no sobro dropping Lakeland and Dylan off. But by this time at 1:22, if this one's 5 minutes off, 1:22 would be 1:27. So by this time, Lakeland says she leaves and Dylan goes to her room. So Bethany is there and Dylan is now there at 1:22. Now, it says picture taken from Xana's phone at 1:38. That's the last time anything happens with Xana involved. Last time. Still, no car, clearly, no Dylan, no Lakeland has ever been dropped off. That is what the public records say that that was Emily and Josie's address on file was the 1118. It was never the Whites that I'm aware of. Can't confirm the Sobro either. David Barry was never interviewed. David Loach was never interviewed. There was no Sobro. I'm going to call no Sobro. Now everyone seems to be getting out of Dodge. And people are coming over to the 1127. What is going on? What is happening? That girl runs over there. Another car comes in. This girl must have gotten in the car and left. Don't know who that was. Lots of stuff starts happening. All right. So obviously there's a lot of strange things happening. Timeline feels tight. Crime scene probably looked chaotic. We're here for all of it. The context, the documents, the supplements, the body cams, the timelines, the forensic details, the witness statements, the inconsistency, all of it. We are not just looking at videos or audio. We are looking at all of this to try to piece things together, try to make sense. Car comes in, don't know who that was. Let's see what time it leaves. Let's see what time this car leaves, if it ever leaves. Just came in. Remember, they piece these things together. Doesn't look like it. Did it leave? No. This car comes in. They're waiting for a ride. I still don't see a car come in, even late, to drop anyone off. Next car comes in, backs up, drops 3 more people off, which is confirmed to be somebody else. They're waiting for people to be picked up and taken somewhere else. Looks like Eric Gower's car again. Another car comes in. Lots of people happening over at 1127. Yeah, crazy time. This is at 1:50 in the morning. And that's what I'm saying. A flock camera would be perfect at that intersection. That's the first thing I checked to see if they had a flock camera in that town. They didn't. The one house to watch, Phoenix, is the one on the corner of Taylor and King. Was there a party there? That one little tiny lie that I just showed you in the timeline. Dylan calls for a Sobro for a ride for her in Lakeland. We're talking about experienced investigators, folks. Experienced investigators. Why in the world, Phoenix, what lighting apparatus is in the roof in the corner? That is always, I thought it was a car light, headlights. Spotlight. Ah, yes. Possibly. Still nothing. All right. So now you get the idea, but I want to run over to this Linda Lane footage one last time, because at 4:28 in the morning, we're told that a Ford comes by. We're told that a Ford comes by. Put the sound back on. Let me go back just a little bit. And let me go at regular speed. What does this truck sound like? We've heard it before, and I don't think it's the Ford Explorer. Here it comes. Volume up. It doesn't come from Frat Row. If it didn't come from Frat Row, it's probably not a frat, in my humble opinion. Now, remember the post that I made this last couple of days when I just gave it to you on an emergency play, emergency live on Saturday? Remember what I did with that camera? Reverse, used it in reverse. Remember, it gave me this truck, this Ford truck. That's not a Ford SUV. It's a Ford truck. Ford truck 1A147JZ. That little old truck that I just showed you, and I converted it daytime. We've heard it before. That is the diesel truck, I believe, in my humble opinion, that we heard at Linda Lane at what time? 12:38 a.m.
You shouldn't park anywhere here. They told her to park at the bottom part of the lot.
Now, I don't think it was that vehicle, but I think it may have been the one that you hear. Let me grab the other time frame. I was like, no way did I just hear this at the same time. What time is it? 4:27. Here we go. Let me forward it real quick. Should be coming in here in a minute. Now, the reason I say this is because in some places, Dylan flat out lied, but in other places, when she was being interviewed by Gooch, she knew at the last interview she had to throw in that black truck because she knew they were going to find out that it was indeed a black truck. So she threw it in there somewhere, but she threw it in at 4:28. When does this truck ever leave? Does anybody know the answer to this? I mean, we know the truck pulled in. I think someone else has FOIA'd earlier in the morning, too. There's a black truck with a white cap on it. Yeah, but when did this truck actually leave? There's some missing time frames. Joel's does not have all the time frame. It leaves in the early morning. At what time? Let me see if I can find actually what time it leaves. Is that cleanup crew? It passes. No, that truck is a different truck. The one at 301 is a totally different truck. Let me see if there is a time that this truck does leave. I love live digs, guys. Let's see what time this truck leaves. 4:45. Let's see if this truck leaves in this time frame. All right, let's see. We've got people hanging out. We've got people leaving in the morning at 5:16. They come back. Is that a truck? Kind of sounds like it, but Can't make it out that clear. So when does this truck actually leave? $5:09. Let's see what this is. There it is. That's the one. That's the hunter. That's the alleged hunter that leaves. That's 5:09. Hold on. Let me just look at this. When does the hunter leave? Truck. This black truck leaves the loud exhaust. Okay, here we go. Okay. She advised she remembered that cars do come in by the residence a lot. All right. And that it was driving past Bethany's window, and she said she was not absolutely certain it was a black truck, but there was a vehicle that went by the residence that she could see the tail lights, but she didn't remember that the headlights were on. But that drew her attention. All right, let's look at the next one. Can you think of anything else right now? Gooch asked at 1:26:28 mark. No. Oh, this is something else that I remember. Cars do come by a lot, but I remember looking out the window. I just remember I think it was a black truck. I don't remember. I don't know for sure. But like that is normal cars go by, and I don't know if it could be something. Just a car driving past our driveway. What time was that? Right when I went down to see Bethany. I don't know exactly when that was. It was moving, was in movement. I should say I believe, because I don't know for sure. I think it was a black truck, but I don't know for sure. All right. Let's see where else there's a black truck. I think that was it. That was in reference to the black truck. Loud exhaust. Black truck, loud exhaust. That was in the book. Those were the only ones. The only other thing that was on the statement, as luck would have it, one can actually document her statement via the 1112 door cam. At 4:23:49, a full-size SUV passes in front with a loud exhaust. Unlike a white sedan, this dark SUV turns right on Taylor instead of left on Walenta. We know this because of the dumpster video, which clearly shows the passing on eastbound Taylor at 4:25. Things get very interesting, however, when the dark SUV returns to King Road at 4:28. So at 4:23, you can see this pass. Let's go back to 4:23. Wow, this is wild. 4:23. 4:23, here we go. So they're saying that this one passed and came back. Let's see if we can look and see if this is an SUV at 4:23 on this cam. Or 23. It sounds like it. So it's on Walenta. If you want to see it again, tag at 13:30 at 4:23. Okay, hold on. Sounds the same. There it is, 4:23. Yes, black truck, Ford. How would she know? Is she telling on someone without telling on someone? In someone's channel, we heard the guy jumping in the truck saying, I think we can. Yeah, I would say so. 4:23. Well, it says 4:28. According to this book, it says 4:28. It was documented on the 112 at 4:28, but on the dumpster cam, it shows 4:25:17. Let's go back to 4:25:17. 4:25:17. Yeah, her fourth interview. You better come clean. That could be possible too. Here it comes from, that's not Frat Row. It's coming from the main, and I've showed you the maps. It turns, unless that is not it. 4:25:17. Maybe that is it. And then it goes at 4:28 in the loud view. When does it leave? He heard it a witness heard it between 4:25 and 4:30 in the morning. He was out in front of his house at that time, placing items into his trash can. He heard the loud sound of the exhaust. Some mysterious loud car with exhaust. It appears that the same person who entered the vehicle at 4:23 exits the driver's side door with a backpack and walks west back towards 1122 King Road. Same exhaust. Witnessed by 3 different witnesses on 3 separate cameras. This is the vehicle that left Linda Lane only to park for 2 hours in front of the crime scene and return to its original parking spot 2 hours later. Dark, they're calling it an SUV. Wow. As with so many unanswered questions, now that Kohberger has admitted to the crime, no one seems to care. So even though Kohberger didn't do it, they have this black they're calling it a dark SUV. We just saw that truck with a white camper shell on it. There it goes. Go back. It says it's a black Ford truck. Yes. In the documents that I shared, it does say a black Ford truck. It does say right here, parked. So they got a black Ford truck, 1A147JZ. Now I know that the credit union financed this truck. That's all I can say. I wish I could say more. So they're trying to tell us that perhaps the person in this truck is the one that had something to do with these crimes. Is that what they're insinuating, that the world will never know because Brian Kohberger pled guilty? 147JZ. It's at 422, just found it. That's what they're insinuating. Ford skid plate. A similar part number relates to with a fuel side OEM part. Let me see if it's been made public. No, it's not. Jeez. They list as license plate numbers on here. Sent you the interview, Phoenix, just now via email. Okay, hold on a minute. Oh, yes, this interview. This is the one that we were talking about when I said that friends had seen her and was a witness. So how could how could Tesdall and how could Tesdall put in his description that he thinks that he saw one of the witnesses or one of the victims? It says, this is supplement 112. Bethany and Dylan's friends saying they were with her until 2 a.m. Well, 2 a.m. How is that possible? If Bethany and Dylan weren't even there, Maddie and Kaylee came home. And at 2:27, you hear the screams. Did they find out what happened to Ethan? Wow, this is a cluster. So this states Kennedy Fitzgerald. We know that her name's in the book now. She already left Moscow and was heading to be with her family. She was interviewed on the 14th, right after. Kennedy told me she had contact with Bethany and Dylan on 11/12/22. Dylan arrived at a residence at 11:30ish, and Bethany arrived. That's 11:30, and Bethany arrived at a residence around. No, that's 10:30 and 11:30. We went through this before. She lives on Taylor Avenue. How is that possible? She walked with them and they walked past the Whites before 2 a.m., but she could not positively tell me. So how could they be there when they actually took pictures in Kaylee's room? She was in a group with 3 other 4. I wonder if she was just like totally out of her mind, drunk, trying to say that they were both there, but they weren't. Because according to the timeline and according to their own statements, they were in the house. Dylan and Bethany state they were both at the house. How could they both be at the house if they're walking there or outside at 2 a.m.? They placed themselves at the house. What if they weren't? What if they weren't there at the house? There are no legal remedies. Exactly. Exactly. The story doesn't add up. Either they were at the house or they weren't at the house. If they weren't at the house, was everybody trying to keep them out of that house? Holy shit. What if they were trying to keep them out of the house so they could put Ethan in bed? There were 3 or 4 other females that can corroborate that they weren't at the house. Well, then why are they saying they were at the house? Were the cops telling them, does anybody seen the pictures? No, no one has seen the pictures from the bedroom. They were walking to 1122, so no Sobro mentioned. She stated she walked them past the Whites sometime before 2, but she could not positively tell me. Didn't they look into her phone? Digital evidence? That could make sense since they both lack emotion. Maybe they weren't there. That still doesn't make sense why she would hear Kaylee's music going. That wouldn't make sense. Yeah, every timeline has been misleading. Absolutely. They said that they were at 2 a.m. up in Kaylee's bedroom, but that would make sense. That would make sense if they weren't there when all this happened. So when did they get back? When did the police get Bethany's iPad to see? I know the iPad's in evidence. They had to have seen it. They had to have seen when Bethany was watching Baby Daddy. She said she was watching it on her iPad. Wow. She says that she walked them partway home. I just found out. Oh, check this out. Check this out, you guys. Holy moly. Read this. Read this. Holy moly. I just found out my remote photography group has a video from a tripod that was stationed behind the house. It recorded from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and shows a woman running from the side of the house as a truck entered the driveway. She ran away from the house and right by our tripod at approximately, almost but not completely accurate, at 2 a.m. A group member removed the tripod, and I don't know who has the video. It's the group's right to not disclose why we record, but we would send in recordings in special circumstances. Can you call the police and give them your information? It's been reported to the Idaho State Police. Our group has been removed from Facebook for various previous privacy violations. Holy moly. Nick Rabus, Rabus. Hold on. Nick Rabus. Let's see who he is. Nick Rabus. Idaho Newsroom. Yeah, he checks out. Wow. Here, I'll show you. Nick Rabus. Let's see. He's got some Vandal Theory podcast. Let's see. He must have a story on here. Nick Rabus. Yeah, he checks out. Wow. Crazy. So that was from their University of Idaho, Nick Rabus. Someone needs to talk to Nick and ask why they were filming in the first place. Phoenix, just look at the new email I sent you. Okay, hold on. That's wild. Wow. Yeah, but it says, okay, so let's look at the witness. Let's look at the exhibits real quick. I want everyone to understand why I'm looking at this. The state already knew who these people were. The state knew. So this vehicle's parked by 1122 King Road, a black Ford truck. It doesn't say a black Ford Explorer. It says a black Ford truck. So I guarantee you, a truck came through there 3 different times, moved the truck and parked. But I want to know when this truck actually leaves in the morning. And a silver Ford SUV with Washington license plates. Let me look at this Washington plate. Let me see if this is public information. I don't know how strict they are on license plates. AZX. But I think I looked it up before. Let's see. Iowa. Oh, I want Washington. Let's see if I can find it real quick while we're live. AZX 3950. Probably it could be already turned over to someone else's. Has anybody looked into these plates? I know a couple people may have. And speaking of plates, Kaylee never applied for her plates. The car was never put in her name. Boy, you know, this book, wow. Says this is her car was owned by, I mean, this is really crazy. It was registered to Samuel Shulkin. And she showed up obviously with her two grandmothers, but she was buying people drinks with her grandmother's card. Did you guys know that? Per this book. Oh, there's so much. Oh my gosh. Wait till we go over this book tomorrow. So much. The interview is from 11/4, A Ford Escape, 2006. Nick who? Nick was filming Fight Club. Nick who? Nick from Washington. Nick who? Hold on a minute. This guy heard the loud engine. 3 separate witnesses heard the loud engine. Yeah. I mean, that's what this book alleged. Oh, Nick. Yeah. That is so weird. Wow. I thought RR. No. Well, it says so. It was registered to the actual owner. They never put it in the name of. Hold on a minute. Let me show you. And hold on. Let me pull up the Range Rover again. Okay, so Kaylee. Okay, the dealership, here, let me show this. The dealership basically said that it was, obviously, it was owned by Samuel P. Shunkin. The last registered owner was Jasmine Sumner. That was the last registered owner, but the actual people who owned it was the dealership, and that was Shulkin, Samuel P. Shulkin. There's a lot of mysterious stuff around this vehicle, too. A lot of mysterious stuff. So she got the Range Rover from Auto Nation Subaru in Spokane. I received the Range Rover title information, which showed the titled owner being Jasmine Danielle Sumner, who lived in Spokane. The lien holder of the vehicle showed Canopy Credit Union of Spokane. The previous owner was Mark and Stephanie Stevens of Graham, Washington. But from there, Sumner had signed the release of title on October 29th, just 2 weeks before the crimes. And Kaylee had not yet changed the plates. In fact, investigation at the Idaho Department of Motor Vehicles showed no record that Kaylee actually even owned it. Though this is all might sound a bit obtuse, police were focused on motive during the early stages of the investigation, and Kaylee's displays of wealth seemed conspicuous. I drove to Auto Nation and spoke to Mr. Samuel P. Shulkin. He told me that Kaylee came into the car dealership twice to look at the Range Rover. The first time she showed up with her two grandmothers, and the second time she came with her mother and grandmother. So in this book, it is alleged that Kaylee did not have a great relationship with her mother, which we know that she moved out in high school. She moved in with Olivia, and also Maddie moved in with Olivia, and JD moved in with Olivia. All three of them left and moved in during high school. And I'm wondering why there was such, like, I don't know, disdain or something about the phone bill and her mom and expenses and things like that. I mean, Kaylee was paying for her college and the sorority. She was paying for her own lifestyle. She was paying for her own expenses, and one of those expenses was wrapped into the college was also the expense for a place to live. So it says basically that she had to keep her room on King Street, on King Road, because rent had to be paid and it had to be written into the cost of her education. Yeah, the plates would have changed at the dealership. They should have changed. But I think because of Washington, they probably made her say that she had 30 days to go register it in Idaho. 30 days to go register it in Idaho, because they have to sign off on the lien. Then they had to go and, do the paperwork in Idaho. So I think, yeah, I don't know when she was going to do that, because it was said that she was supposed to leave on that Sunday morning, that she was going to leave and take care of all of, her things before she moved. Yeah, they still had to clear the title and all that good stuff. So it could have taken a little bit of time. Yeah, it's just wild. Why would she still have temp? Well, she can use the temp tags for up to 30 days. So, yeah, from an underage child not living at home. I mean, guys, this is wild. Yeah. I mean, I can just speak from my own experience. Sorry, guys. Let's just leave it at that. I'll speak from my own experience, and I'll tell you, you know, looking back and what I said about Mother's Day the other day on Friday or Saturday, looking back at my own experience, I can honestly say when I was in high school, I was working, I was ready to go. And my friend and I were like, look, we're going to join the military together. We're going on the buddy program. I kind of wanted to go to college. She wanted to get out of her parents' house. They were Puerto Rican, very strict, no freedom. And I understood that. I mean, our parents are our very first influence in our lives. And if there was a lot of, friction being a teen and having your older sister move out on her own and say, hey, you can just come live with me, everything will be okay, but come live with me and bring your two friends with you, your boyfriend and your best friend, that's just a little sus to me. That is really sus. And that's just my opinion. But I'm just thinking, why would somebody in their high school years be ready to move out on their parents and not want to have anything to do with them? And that could be personal, right? I mean, obviously Kaylee was paying for her own college. She was paying for her own expenses per a broken plea. I'm sure they dug deep. I'm sure they dug really deep into her finances, which is really odd why they would need to do that. But according to, Bethany with the feet pictures and then the OnlyFans and some other things, maybe this was some random guy that showed up, and who knows? Now it has me wondering if there is a serial killer out there in some loud volume truck with a back camper on top. But then I start thinking about it, and I'm like, where is all this unknown DNA, and why did these kids have hair in their hands that were unalived? So it had to have been someone. And like I said on my post a little while ago, let me ask you guys, it's not a riddle, it's more of a question. It's more of a question. Okay. And when I put this post up, I really meant it. So let me get your thoughts about this since we're live. No one, and this is the information that I'm pulling in from all these sources. I'm talking documents, pictures, crime scene, investigators. And if we have no one that committed this crime within the area, and Judge Hippler said, no, they drove to this area and they sold the nice little package story that it's Brian Koberger, and he is the expert getting his PhD in criminology. Was he trying to catch some serial killer? Was he trying to monitor a serial killer? I don't know. But let me know your thoughts on this. No one, and this is what I've gathered, no one disliked Ethan. I don't think $34, I don't think Ethan was involved in heavy drugs. If he was, he could have went to his parents and said, hey, I need help. I'm in big trouble. I owe people money, and if I don't pay them, something bad is going to happen. I don't think Ethan owned $34. I don't think it was worth $34 to take his life. I think Ethan may have known something different than what most people think. I think he had the inner working knowledge of Sigma Chi and the frats, and they weren't going to let him out. No one disliked Kaylee. She was the sweetest girl. But again, Kaylee probably knew some things and they weren't going to let her out. No one disliked Maddie, right? Everybody loved Maddie. And no one disliked Xana. She was the girl that everyone loved. So what gives? What did they all have in common? What did they all have in common? They all wanted out of this lifestyle they were living. That's what I see. Kaylee and Maddie were ready to graduate and get the hell out of there, start their lives. Ethan, I don't think Ethan was going to hang around school another year. We don't even know if he was offered to come back into the frat. We don't even know what his grades look like. Xana, don't know. What gives? Yeah, and the mental game they played with Ethan that night is just sick. That would have drove a man insane. That would have drove a man insane. Hey, your girl that everyone thinks you're going to marry and that you guys are so madly in love, she's cheating on you. Not one text, but two texts. It's almost as like they were being profiled and stalked. Yeah, I mean, what gives, guys? What do you think the common denominator in this was? Did someone put a hit out on these four? I mean, those are the kind of questions that I ask because you know what? I question the unthinkable. Why did Ethan have debris in his hand? Why did Kaylee have debris in her hand? Why did Maddie and Xana have Ethan's DNA under their nails or blood? Or what gives? What gives? Who did this? And why? I don't think it was some cartel thing. Yes, there were commonalities in Maddie and Xana's parent and step parents, but I don't think that was probably enough to go and have their offspring hit. Doesn't make sense. What gives? Maybe we're missing something here. What is it we're missing here? If nothing points to chaos had been brewing among, yeah, I think Ethan may have known the inner workings of these frats. Kaylee was said to be dating two delts. Maddie was said to be in a tryst with one of the same delts. The delts seemed to be the common denominator within. There was, some contention with the delts. Or then at the end of the day, You always have this in the back pocket. But I don't think the house was the only thing in common I can think of. The house. Well, why would the house be targeted? Because it was one of the ones that was recommended that they live in. Anybody at the university. You have a really odd, strange of mix of individuals from different backgrounds. You have an odd, strange of mix with people with money and people without money in the house. I mean, it's just wild. It's absolutely wild. But at the end of the day, all we can do is keep looking at the evidence and the facts and look and see what gives. Yeah, it was. Maybe that's the common denominator. It could have been revenge. Could have been somebody was taking everybody out. What if they knew too much and they weren't going to let them out? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. But who? Logically, forensic logic tells me 3 people were not able to be cleared. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Let your minds wander where they will. You guys we always figure it out. We don't miss anything. And with the forensics, 3 individuals that were in the fraternity and sororities. I don't know if was Emily Allant in a sorority? I don't think she was she? I can't remember. Hunter could not be excluded. Fingerprints. Backsliding door. He had the front door code. Emily had the front door code. Couldn't be excluded. Fingerprints, back door. And Bethany couldn't be excluded. Fingerprints, back door. All found after using Amido Black. That means those prints were bloody prints. If they had the code to the front door, why go out the back sliding door? Make that make sense. Until tomorrow, we're going to be getting into the Broken Plea book where I'm going over the timeline. This is a freaking wild timeline. 1249 Ethan is the last time that he possibly could be accounted for. And when Xana texts Pete and says, Pete, you good? And can't get a hold of Ethan, I think Pete was with Ethan. And I think Pete knows exactly what went down, in my humble opinion. Because the only time that I would message somebody from my experience is if my boyfriend was hanging out with someone and my boyfriend's not answering his phone. I'm going to message the buddy that I know he's with. And I'm going to say, hey, y'all good? Everything okay? No one's messaging me back. And that's the last time. So I think Xana and Ethan were separated at 12:20 or before, because Ethan and Xana's calls keep getting missed. They keep getting missed. And so she says, Pete, everything good? Did Pete and Ethan go out to grab something and come back and never came back? All right, Pete. Pete's the missing link in this story right now. Pete, something's got to give. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 11:11 sharp. Be there. Love y'all. Awesome stream.
From shadows deep, a whisper starts to bloom, a tiny spark defying all the gloom.